what we're talking about today, I'm lucky to have Chris online here. He's a busy coach and a school teacher, but I'm going to call this the GOAT performance drill. And we'll get into more of the reasons for that. But the reason I had Chris on is because he kind of gave me the foundational stuff and gave me the drill. And then I just honestly added a couple things that I share with a few coaches that are pretty jacked about the results and the things that they're seeing. But the GOAT performance drill basically is a general foundation to advance skills, specific skills. So what you're doing during this drill, and I'll show you the drill in a second, is that you are basically, what I feel is all these systems in your body have ceilings of performance. And what we're doing with this drill, once we put it all together, is mimicking sports so that we hopefully raise these ceilings so that you're not going to get faster. You may not get better at your sport, but all these learning potential, these ceilings, these limiters will get raised up by this drill. And then when you go play your sport, you can get more specific and better at it. Now, buddies of mine that have modified this drill for young kids feel that they've gotten some pretty amazing coordination stuff. And I don't know if that's the case with my advanced athletes here. I don't know. I just know that they do nothing like this. They get better at this drill with all these variables that you're going to see. And I truly believe it's one of the best performance drills I've seen to lay a foundation.
One other thing, Cal, is even though we may be raising the ceiling of what we can do, we also create new pathways to find ways to raise that ceiling. So now are we not only going this one direction or this one way to raise our ceiling, but we're finding new ways to raise that ceiling too. So not only are we getting height in what your ceiling is, but now we're getting width as well. So the capacity for more ceiling is even more so with this drill.
And Chris, I think that's the interaction of all these systems that we're hopefully, like you said, with putting these interactions together. We don't know where this can go. We're not specialists in this area. We just know we try to do this, right? Right.
Yeah, it works.
And it works. Okay. So this is just a basic video of the drill, and I'm going to show you this so you guys can see it, so you know what we're talking about. You may be here. So you can see the athlete is moving. Now I have a 1080 here. So you can see the corner of the 1080 here. The 1080 is, there's a small string running right there. You might not be able to see it. I can barely see it myself. Hooked to the athlete. There's a constant tension pulling the athlete off center of mass, I should say, which allows you to, with each foot strike, there's a different repetition and a different stabilization of the core, which we'll get into. Chris talks about circles. So does our friend Dan Fichter. Circles hit every plane, all the variables with many of the systems that are involved in this whole thing. So the athlete runs in a circle around here to make a figure eight while the athlete is staring at a fixed object at this basic level. Okay, and we'll talk about that why. Now the athlete is also moving around a tennis ball, if you didn't catch that up, through his hands. Okay, his hands are moving with a tennis ball. And I did a drill for a number of years, and I caught something on a pretty awesome experiment I did about 18 years ago. It's called Perplexity. I'll link it later in this video, but this is why we're doing it. Perplexity, it's about an 8-minute video or 10 that you got to look at, why I do that. Now notice the athlete staring at a fixed target. You can see the foot position, the balance and coordination. Now this isn't truly an athlete, and this is a coaching friend of mine, and he wanted me to make clear that he was going slower for educational purposes, which is true. My athletes can go, any athlete can go a little faster, and so can Derek here. But everything that's going on in this drill, and if you don't have a 1080, and if you don't know what a 1080 is, it's a very excellent tool. You can actually just do this drill. I like tying a couple bands together, 2 or 3, just to provide tension. And then you can even shake that band back and forth to provide variables in this. Now,
or
Chris,
even better yet, Cal, the person who's holding the bag, they can walk around with the band. So while you're going through different ranges of motion or different movement patterns, the tension's coming from different spots every step that you take. So it's a constantly different input into the system as that tension from the band is getting moved around constantly. With the 1080, which I have and love and use and do it a lot with this drill, it's great, but even better if you could get something around that person's waist that has tension and move around, and you can move anywhere you want, it'll have an even bigger impact. But I think that's something further down the road than what we're seeing here.
Yeah. And then Chris, folks, the big thing here is we'll get, actually, I think I'm going to, so just so you have an understanding of this drill, I'm going to move on to the next slide, which is
Let him run. Finish the drill.
Oh yeah, we'll let him run it a couple times. Why don't? So you can see, one more time, we'll start from the beginning.
Whenever.
And he's going a little slower. I would want my athletes to go faster if they can, but that's one of the key factors in understanding this drill. Now, the big one.
All right. Whenever.
A good point here with why we're doing this and why we're doing circles. People talk about, well, the 40-yard dash has no carryover into football or other things like that. Yeah, that's a good speed drill. This is game speed. What I found is that the better people run circles, or the faster people run circles, the better field speed they have for your team sports, whether it's lacrosse, soccer, basketball, even football. And if you look at how they train defensive linemen, they run hula hoops, big hula hoops, little hula hoops. They want to know who can run a circle the fastest.
Well, it's all the variables in your sport that you might have to push against somebody and keep moving and things like that. And we'll get into the big details. But Chris, honestly, I'm going to tell people what made me think of this drill. I did some add-ons, obviously, but the foundational stuff came from you. And here was the big video, right, that Chris made me aware. And now, if you're watching this video, is this a falcon, I believe, Chris, or a hawk?
It's a hawk.
Yeah, it's a hawk stabilization. And this animal's looking at some prey, and they're moving the body. Why? You see how focused it is, but also, folks, you got to understand the core of this athlete, this animal, that core. Yeah, he's an athlete, is stabilizing so fast, right? The stabilization, and Chris, you want to talk about really what the core is. People think the front abs and all this. Talk about what true core is.
Well, core is going to be the coordination between your upper and lower body and how that ties together, not only with your spine, but your vision. So it's really a stabilization system in your torso that allows you to track. Because really, if we're hunting something, whether it's a soccer ball or a buffalo or whatever, we need to be able in that same state. But when a lot of people do core, you lay down and you do a plank or you do sit-ups, there's no challenge into stabilizing everything and getting everything to run straight or run properly when you go through all these different movements.
And Chris, you're exactly right. And you and I talked about it when you realized too, I don't know if you remember the conversation about when we would watch our dogs. I have hunting dogs, you have herding dogs, but they were chasing squirrels through the woods. And they would track the squirrel while they were running and go under branches, over branches, jump logs, and never lose the tracking on that squirrel. And they never tripped and never fell.
Yeah, mine go after deer and coyote, not squirrels.
Yeah, right. Yours are 180 pounds.
To watch them sprint and never miss is amazing. Charging through a forest and watching where they're going, but nothing ever hits, nothing ever trips them up. You never see a dog trip and fall.
And they have great
just
cores.
Like this hawk.
And they have great cores, and they don't do a plank in the weight room, do they? Now, here's the thing. Like
anatomically, they can't do a sit-up.
Yeah, right. So, and here's the thing that I've always questioned was, people want to train the core by doing some exercise in the weight room. And this stabilization, I use this example, Chris. My hockey athletes are going down the ice at 16 meters, 15 meters per second, and they get a pass from 100 feet away, and a guy in between them deflects the puck, and they're able to change their core as they're skating down the ice to reach and grab us and track it with their eyes. The amount of speed, which everything changed right there, was almost incomprehensible, but they still caught the puck. And we're going to try to tell me that they don't have core stabilization or some kind of core function that's working correctly to complete that task. It's just a little frustrating what people think is core. I'm not saying planks are bad, but they have, at the end of training and But once you can do a plank, you have to advance the planks to things along these guidelines that actually mimic sports.
Okay, I disagree with you. I think planks are bad. After doing RPR
I
for
agree.
10 years and seeing what we've seen and seeing how muscles recruit and resetting people, we know that the more you do that plank movement without any, just haphazardly lay down and hold for 3 minutes, we know that you're pulling that rib cage closer to your hip girdle.
Well,
which doesn't allow for rotation. It doesn't allow for perfect spine function, a lot of different things.
100%. The way we would recommend it, if you choose to do it, is squeeze the glutes and work on your breathing during that time frame, right?
Yeah.
But it's still not a great exercise, Chris. I'm 100% in agreement with you. We are all on the same page. Now I'm going to try to go to the next page. Where are we at? I think I just showed the drill again.
All right.
I think I jumped. And this is just the front view of the drill, if you're wondering. So the athlete's looking straight ahead. Now, where this goes to, I just want to let everybody know while he's doing this. So right now he's looking at an object stuck on the wall. Where this drill advances to where the hawk at that level or our dog's running through the woods tracking a squirrel, what I will do is I will basically take a hockey puck, tie a string to it, drill a hole, put it on the ceiling over here, tie it to the ceiling, and a puck will swing back and forth using a momentum. I'll just swing it and it'll go back and forth. So the athlete actually will track that puck while it's moving, or it can be a ball. It doesn't have to be a hockey puck. While they do this drill, and folks, you have to understand that core, the spinal erectus, the eyes, let's talk about all the variables that are going to come out. If your eyes are in a different position, your erectors will be activating differently. So you have to realize that the foot position, how it lands, these are just some of the things. Your hand position, whether your hands are pronated or supinated at a time, will affect the spine.
Absolutely.
Right? And Chris and I have talked about this and the complexity. And here's the big one, folks. Your spine, this is just survival. This is how you're wired to survive. Your brain, your body, the human will protect the brain first, the spine second. Okay? And the variables that exist in this and how your spine functions it's crazy because people forget, I want to take care of the core, but the core sits on top of the hips. If your hips are functioning correctly, which we do through RPR, then guess what activates correctly? Well, let's give you one example. If this glute med is off and this athlete goes to stabilize, Chris taught me this a while ago. When this glute med doesn't help stabilize the hip while this foot's on the ground, the opposite QL will always in your athlete. And maybe it just turned off that day, I don't know. But over a few weeks, this QL, the opposite side QL, will be locked down 100% of the time. And Chris, this is what I found, Chris, after you showed me this in all my athletes.
Yeah. And another thing about the spine, if your spine isn't in a good position or it's unsure about the position that it's in, remember, you've got to protect the spine. You'd rather protect the spine than give power. You're going to get a power decrement in what you're doing. So we want to give the brain this idea that it can be safe in all these different positions as we move through these exercises. So no matter what position we get into, our body's going to give full power.
And it's not giving full power, Chris, I think you might understand this. If it's unstable, it downregulates muscle.
Every time.
Every time. Folks, this is why the foot, Chris's ankle rocker, look at that ankle rocker right here. And the spring ankle position. We have it. It's right there. Folks, this is in our football high school manual and our, actually they're both now in the speed manual that we produce. The foot, if this arch collapses, folks, this glute med shuts off, hips can't stabilize, that QL locks down. There's other processes that are going on there, but this is just foundational. So, look, I've kind of mentioned all the factors that go in here. The tension from the side, tracking a fixed object or moving, okay? The hands moving around the body while they're running. the neuroperplexity part. And when I talk about neuroperplexity, look, this is just an add-on. And this is the foundation of my neuroperplexity. I've actually traded out this drill for the figure 8. But you notice the athlete's moving his hands. And what you really don't realize is that the athlete is doing math. And I don't have them go 6 minus 3. I actually just tell them to subtract a number or add a number. And what happens is the athlete, I'll say 7, 9, 10, 11, 14, 8, 9, 7. That fast, and the athlete's trying to subtract 3, 2, or whatever I told him or her. Now, I've found, and actually what I'll tell you is that if you want to check on this video, if you want to look at this video, I'll make these slides available on the YouTube video or page that it's posted on. You guys can click on the link. But this is a method I found in 2003 where I just tested a bunch of college hockey players, and the ones that could do math and not change their form while skating on a skating treadmill, and we had a motion analysis machine, 9 camera system. The ones that did that were the 3 that made it to the NHL for a long career. So they made over 150 million, I believe, in the NHL.
The perfect scenario for the math is a 3-column math. So it'd be three-digit numbers added together while you're doing this. There's something about threes in this neuroperplexity.
I know. And I think you'd probably have to set up a TV program. Wouldn't you agree with that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that they could look while they're doing this and see the math out of the corner or whatever. Or ultimately, you know what, Chris, it'd be better if they could track the math on the TV if it was swinging, right? I don't know. Somebody's got to come up with something. So anyway, when we build our training center, this is where it's going to happen. So, all right. So that neuroperplexity, I'm not going to spend time on it because you can go find that actual video, okay? But we added it to this drill. So, so what this drill does, it trains your core. Reactiveness, reaction to various loads, especially if I didn't film the water bag on Derek when he did this drill because I'm going to have to rig it up so they can do the water bag and move the arms at the same time because most water bags, you got to hold them on your shoulders, okay? And then reacted to moving targets and tracking. Their neuroperplexity is actually the thinking part of it. If you look at that video I just gave you, you can see how the thinking part of it is changed. Obviously, the water bag on the back is very, it causes a lot of variables from the foot, not just in the core, but all the way down to the foot. Tracking the moving targets is big when you throw all this together. These are the most advanced parts. I wouldn't worry about progressing them slow. I don't even think Chris doing this drill slower, if you throw a bunch of stuff on it, is bad because it's not like you're walking doing it. If you're running, I think it puts a lot of variables in there that the body's going to have to adapt.
Yeah.
And then progression, like small circles, you run slower. I thought about adding a weight vest during my strength phase and then run bigger circles faster later. If you want to look at my progressions on how I would do that, training in various zones, but I think that's an option. But I have to think that you want to go from smaller to bigger. I don't even mind going bigger right away. But the athletes running fast, being able to do this drill and get more efficient at them as a coach. Now, where's this? Where have I told people advise it? Any sport, team sport, where there's an interaction. But I don't even care if Chris. I don't even care if you're a track athlete. Just let's say runs 100 and 200, mostly in a straight line. I think this drill can raise the ceiling, especially in the off season, of their motor learning potential. Don't you?
Absolutely. And plus, when you're running a circle, you'll see average to below average athletes, they can never bring that hip forward. It's almost like they're taking 2 steps to go travel the distance of 1. If you can learn to run a circle and bring that outside hip forward and rotate that shoulder in, that creates or establishes a strong cross crawl pattern and creates a strong hip flexion pattern, which is ideally what we want when we sprint.
Straight ahead, right?
Yeah.
It's beauty. Even the tactical population, I gave this to a few. And when they enter a room, to be able to process information, move around the room, step over something on the floor while they're trying to secure the room, while they're being able to pay attention is very, very I would say specific to what they do, to being moved fluid like this. It's pretty impressive if you ever are fortunate enough to watch an entry of, let's say, our military special forces operators move into a room, and it's pretty amazing, and there's a reason that they do what they do. I've given this to a few just a while back, and hopefully they are they're going to implement this to see if they could make their times better. So just a thought, just an understanding. But this drill is a general drill. It won't make you run faster, but Chris and I truly believe that it will raise your ceiling, as we talked in the beginning of this video, in potential to raise your ceiling, to get faster, to do your sport better, to train qualities that we don't even know truly of how the interactions of, let's say, the vestibular system, the spine, everything, the visual system work together. Am I right with that, Chris?
Yeah, I think we're a long way away from completely understanding it, but what we've both seen is this drill helps a lot. Maybe it has nothing to do with the vestibular system. All I know is my better athletes can get through circles much better than my slower athletes.
Right. Yeah, it's impressive. So, all right. Anything else, Chris, on this?
No, I think I'm good.
All right. I think hopefully, and if any coaches out here hear this, and they please shoot me and Chris some ideas and or questions if you have them. I think this is a great drill, and Chris, I'm glad, appreciate you showing up and doing this for me. I know you got a lot, but we'll check back soon. Okay.
Thanks.